In this exclusive interview, we sit down with Matt Mason, co-founder of Broadside and CEO of BaseJump, to explore the innovative concepts detailed in the Action white paper. Matt shares his insights into how Action is poised to revolutionize decentralized storytelling and empower communities within the metaverse. Join us as we delve into the future of digital interaction and transformative potential of Action.
Yeah. What's up, Matt?
Going on? I love the new intro. I hadn't seen that.
We've had it for like maybe like a year or so, so it's like newish. Probably since the last time you were on, though. I think
Yeah.
it's new. It's been a little bit. So yeah, well, thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, our other co-host Kevin did all the animation for that, and yeah,
Nice. It's great to
yeah.
be back. Thanks for having me, guys.
Likewise, man. But yeah, so just kind of as like a brief intro, I mean, I think a lot of people are really excited about the Action white paper being released last week. Myself, for one, have been really, really excited and have been having a lot of fun going through and reading it and diving deeper into it. And definitely have more questions for you than I think a lot of other people probably have as well. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of walk through some of those things and make sure that, you know, some of the things that I'm confused about, other people are clear on as well. So
Yeah,
yeah.
sure. Yeah, look, it wouldn't be a white paper if it wasn't confusing, you know?
Exactly. But yeah, so I mean, maybe just to start it off. I mean, obviously we've kind of been following the whole Broadsider experience, you know, since the
Yeah.
beginning. But you know, what initially inspired kind of the creation of the Action substrate specifically, and you know, what are some of like the problems you're trying to solve in the Web3 space with it?
Yeah. So, the beginning of this journey, we built this collection called Broadside. You guys were there for that, a kind of story-driven NFT collection. We weren't thinking about gaming. We weren't thinking about metaverses. We were thinking about characters and story. We put this thing out in the world. It was kind of a side project for myself and co-founder Vector Meldrew.
Mm.
And it blew up. And this was end of 2022. By the beginning of 2023, the Broadside community had become the most active community in the open metaverse, which was a surprise to us. We sort of didn't see this going that way, but we knew that it might go a way that we didn't anticipate. And we were suddenly really, really inspired by watching this really engaged community playing and creating together across different games, across different platforms, at a moment when everybody in the world was saying all this metaverse stuff that everybody's been hyped on for the last few years is dead as a doornail.
Mhm.
It's never going to happen. Crypto's done. Everything's done. AI is the only game in town. And we were just like, we've built businesses. Vector and I built a music magazine in the UK. We've built businesses where we've seen subcultures grow from a really small group of people just having fun together in a room. Like when everyone else thinks what they're doing is ridiculous, suddenly that can become a giant movement like dubstep or grime or some of the early things that we were involved in music.
Mhm.
So we saw what was our community was doing, and we see other communities out there playing with different file types in different games, and we're like, well, wait, this is new kind of fun that people are having with games at a time when games are getting smaller and weirder and more driven by user generated content. Like Roblox is bigger than PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam combined, and it grew 30% last year. The top 19 games of the top 20 games on Fortnite, UEFN games, were made by single devs. Like it's just getting easier to make games. And then you throw AI in the loop with that, and it's like, well, okay, this is going to accelerate. There's already 3.5 billion game assets in the world. These communities are showing us that it's fun to play with different assets across different worlds. Let's create a product around this. Let's actually like look at what this community needs and give it to them. Like that's product development, that's platform development. Vector and I have been doing that separately for decades now separately, and we were like, okay, we made some money on the Broadside Mint. We've got all the things we said we'd do funded. Let's try this as well. There's something else here. We started building BaseJump. We were thinking search and discovery for the metaverse at some level, and like without really knowing what that
Mhm.
meant. And then a guy I used to work with when I was at Palm, there was a amazing platform called nifties.com. I'm sure you guys know that built on the Palm network. The CEO there was a guy called Jeff Marsilio. He was previously the SVP of digital at NBA. He launched NBA Top Shot, went and launched Nifties. Nifty sold to MoonPay. Jeff ends up at this new venture studio called Community Labs that's building on the Arweave network. This is getting a little bit complicated. Arweave, for those who don't know, decentralized storage. It's a way to kind of store lots and lots of things in a completely decentralized environment. he tells me that Arweave is building this new protocol called AO, which is a way to do decentralized supercomputing, AI, giant games, the most giant applications or files you can imagine can be created instantly and then stored as a single block on Arweave. This was new tech to me. This was like net new stuff. So we're talking to VCs, we're talking to different chains who are offering us grants to build BaseJump in different places, and it was always like a kind of like a weird trade-off. Like, well, we could go build here, but there's not really a lot of volume on this chain, so I don't know if we want to do that. AO hadn't even launched yet, but when we kind of looked under the hood of the tech with our CTO Brent, who's amazing, has been with Broadside since day one, is our third co-founder, and like kicked the tires on where it was. It's like, okay, this is early, but this is transformative. If you can make a game in an instant, the way you use ChatGPT, well, then BaseJump Accelerate, like the idea of like if millions of people are making games the way they make Instagram posts, you need a search and discovery engine for all of that much, much sooner than we think. This kind of accelerates everything, and it's only possible on AO. So we took some funding from community labs. We started building not just BaseJump, but this kind of open protocol under it that's going to power BaseJump as the first application. But the idea is that anyone could go and build on that too. Anybody could go and build a new application that can instantly generate games or worlds or game assets, because we see those things being bigger than gaming. We think entire new social networks, entire new forms of culture are going to be built on game engines. The next internet will be built on game engines. So that's kind of the future we're going for. And then once we got there, like the sort of the floodgates really open in terms of, well, we can turn all of the Broadside characters into nodes on this network. We can give them all AI agentic personalities. We can like stuff so much tech into each one. And that's just something we can keep doing. And not just for the Broadside community, but for lots of other communities as well. And so we started thinking about this new file type called a hyperobject, which is essentially a game asset that's smart, like a smart contract, or like AI is smart. And we think hyperobjects are going to be like the hypertext in this internet built on game engines. And so we're just sort of we're building a lot. We're doing too much. It's all super complicated, and no one's sleeping enough, and everybody's way too.
All good things. All good things. Well. So you definitely, I think, jumped into some of our future questions there a little bit.
Yeah.
But
You show me
but
the questions. I told you.
I
I'll
know.
pick up 1, 2, and 3.
But no, but I think that was a good like overview. But maybe we can dive in like a little bit deeper on a couple of those things, more specifically on like AO and Arweave. Like I'm familiar with Arweave, kind of like more just from like the decentralized storage side. So it was through you guys that I got introduced to AO and some of the things they've been building there. So I guess maybe from like a layperson's perspective, how would you explain the differences between like AO and some of the capabilities there compared to more traditional programmable blockchains, EVM blockchains like Ethereum and kind of the L2s on top?
It's almost like I think it pins to Arweave, but it's sort of almost not a blockchain. It's like if
Okay.
BitTorrent and OpenAI had a baby. So
Got it.
you think about OpenAI or any of these big AI companies, it's like giant servers,
Mhm.
single points of failure, and the idea of AO is that compute is decentralized. So it could be on a giant server, it could be on like bare metal hardware somewhere, or it could be a little bit of hard drive on your laptop, and you're
Mhm.
now earning AO tokens because you're contributing compute to the network.
Right.
It wasn't long ago that the largest supercomputer in the world was the network of PlayStation 5s. And I think it's that sort
Really?
of, yeah, like we don't think about how
Yeah.
much compute we as kind of end users actually have. And I used to work at BitTorrent, so this idea has always really resonated with me that
Mhm.
if you connect the edge, like if you decentralize in that way, especially when it comes to AI, it starts to get really, really interesting. And then I think why is crypto important in all of this? Crypto feels like it's the currency of AI. Like if you can
Yeah.
just instantly make things, then attribution and immutable kind of chains of where did this thing come from. If you think about a game asset, like if we're making a way to make games and worlds instantly, that protocol can and should be able to go and use existing game assets that people have already made, And the people who made those things deserve to be compensated for those things if they put them in the Action Network to be used.
Mhm.
And so this whole idea of kind of like just bringing kind of remix culture on chain in a way that we haven't really been able to do with music yet, or we haven't done.
Yeah,
People are working on that. Um, but with gaming, I think you can really, really bake it in, especially when you're building this kind of end-to-end system the way we are.
cool, nice. That makes sense.
Does it make sense? Was that too complicated?
No, I mean, I think that made sense to
All
me
right.
at least. Yeah. So I don't know about Sean. I don't want to speak for him, but
No, this language is definitely new to me, and I read over the white pages a few times. But I'm
Yeah.
not the crypto guy; I'm the comics guy. So I was talking to Spencer a little bit more about it in more detail, and no, it makes sense. It's just new. It's so new what
Yeah.
you guys are doing, and actually transitioning to the broadsiders out there. I'm kind of curious, like, what will some of the biggest key benefits be for holding a broadside OG, within the Action ecosystem?
Yeah. Look, I think it's just good practice if you've built an NFT community to always kind of treat them as VIPs. But I think in
yeah,
our case, the behavior of the Broadside community, which we had nothing to do with, inspired the creation of this platform. And it's like, on one level, like we just want to reward them. So there'll always be kind of whatever multipliers are available in terms of XP or action or new things to try within BaseJump. Like the Broadside community is going to be front and center. Um, and that's also a really selfish thing because this community is a really amazing, really engaged community. If you ask them for feedback on something, they will absolutely tell you. Not only will they tell you, they will go and absolutely flood the timeline
yeah,
with it. And it's just sort of like everyone, like, and I think so many of us in the Broadside community at this point are on first name terms with each other. And,
Mhm. Yeah.
like good, bad, whatever's going on in people's lives. Like if I see people, are struggling or whatever, and they say that on the timeline, I'm like, here's my number, like call me. Like these people
yeah,
I consider friends. So there's this very deep connection to the community. Like we rave together every week. Everyone's building things in their own directions. Some people are building things together. It's really, really special. But from a like super hard nosed, selfish CEO business mindset, this is the best group of reference customers on the planet if you're trying to build for the next internet. Like this is the most engaged group. It's not like a massive. It's not Fortnite. It's not Roblox. It's a couple of thousand people, and they're really vocal, and they're really here, and they'll really tell you what you think, and they'll put time in. And you didn't have to give them a $50 Amazon gift card to get feedback on the product. Like
right.
it's so different to building products from anything I've done before. And the
Mhm.
people are really engaged and they really care. So I think that's one of the benefits of NFTs that was sort of touted early on was like you can kind of align incentives with the community and build something together, and everybody does that. Like we've really seen that with Broadside. So yeah, like we're gonna start the sort of closed alpha testing of our first game next month. We'll open that to everybody who's in the Broadside community, mostly because we trust those people more than anything. We know they're not going to leak things,
Right.
uh, or kind of we know that there's not bad actors in there because we really know these people at this point.
Mhm.
And it's great to always see new people join. I think one of the future things about holding a broadsider that we're working on, we said stuff, we talked about it in the white paper. I don't want to get too much into it. Like, just from a securities law perspective, you should
Mhm.
really only talk about what you've built. We've built the foundations of broadside OGs working as nodes that will validate the action network, that will actually secure the network. Which again is just to me is like a just fascinating thing that you can do with something like
Yeah,
AI. But like if you think about how crypto networks are secured or validated, which means like is this block really this block and is it the only
yep,
block? It's a way to just check things. Like if you want to be a validator on Ethereum, I think the buy-in is like 32 ETH
yep.
to validate a node, which is
Mhm.
like all right. Well, when they started, that wasn't a lot of money.
Yeah,
It's different
but
now.
getting to that now, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I think for me, one of the fascinating things about NFTs and sort of Web3 gaming is if you can show people things instead of telling them things, because no one wants to hear about decentralization, is the most boring thing I've ever
Mhm.
talked about, and I love it. Like it's just no one really wants to talk about reorganizing the web in a different way. It just puts people to
Right.
sleep. But if you show a kid like, hey, here's your game character, it's yours. If this platform shuts down, it's still yours. You can
Yeah.
sell it. You can sell it all over the place, not just here. It really belongs to you. Oh, and by the way, it's securing this network. And if you stick it here and secure the network, it will earn rewards.
Mhm.
It's like, all right, like a 13-year-old can understand that. And no one had to talk about NFTs or show them a white paper or even say the
Right.
word crypto, right? It's just like, and then the other side of that is now as a kid, I'm like, well, now I expect to own my identity, my stuff, my social graph. And if I'm doing things for a platform, I expect that platform to pay me for it.
Yeah.
That is the fundamental change. That is the difference between Web 2 and Web 3 that we've been trying to that's the chasm we've been trying to cross,
Mhm.
and we haven't seen like product market fit at that level where a project or a platform or an application has I think really done that yet, and it's one of the things that I think gaming could do, and it's definitely one of the goals that we have.
Yeah. Well, so I know you said you couldn't really go too deep into the stuff with the nodes, but I'm curious, is it like more of like actually you have to provide compute to the network in addition to owning a broadside, or is it more like kind of like staking like an Ethereum where you would stake your broadside in order to basically secure the network?
We're thinking about both things, and part of the reason I can't say too much about it is because we still are still working on it. So I can't
Fair.
say it works this way, not this way, because
Yeah.
we're still in the like, well, what if it does this and not this? There's
Mhm.
also other aspects of how you sustain a crypto network beyond nodes that we are like. There's other things you could do that I'm not going to talk about at all, but just to say this might expand or it might contract. We might say actually,
Right.
all right, the node thing is a 2026 stretch goal. We've done the
Right.
foundational work, but there's more to do to actually make that real. Which is why I'm being, like I don't want to say too much, not because I don't want to say too. It's like I don't know, we're still doing
Yeah.
it. But yeah, just this idea that I think the sort of the basic idea, the conventional staking, is the sort of more staking idea
Mhm.
where it's like okay, boom, it's there, it's validating the network. But because AO is not an EVM network, because you have processes on AO, this whole like different architecture and way of doing things, which is still really young. It's so early that we're still learning all the things that you could potentially do on AO. And we're kind of unlearning, our brains are all kind of EVM compatible.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And so we're still trying to figure out, okay, we know how this works in EVM land, but what else can we do here?
Well, excited to see what you guys come up with. I'm sure it'll be
Yeah,
innovative and interesting no matter what it is. So, yeah,
thank you. Hopefully it doesn't break.
yeah. Well, hey, you got to break a few things along the way.
You do.
Yeah. So yeah, you mentioned that hopefully next month the first game with BaseJump will be releasing. So I was curious, besides OG Broadsiders getting to be involved with the testing, is there anything you can share about the game or kind of the style of game or really
Yeah.
or just anything? Yeah.
Yeah. So the first game's going to be a kind of like a battle game. So think Street Fighter or Smash Brothers.
Hmm. Cool.
Except the difference is the game's going to be about the weapons and the items that you load out with. So if you've used the base jump platform, the sort of creator hub that we've released,
Hmm.
you'll notice when you log in, there's an inventory and it says armor, weapons, items.
Hmm.
So you'll be able to choose one piece of armor, one item, and one weapon, and then hit battle, and you'll be able to battle either NPC characters or your friends. And it's going to be a fighting game, so it'll be like Smash Brothers in sort of the play style.
Hmm.
It's what you take. There's a sort of Smash Brothers plus the kind of like rock paper scissors of what did you actually load out with, and what
Right.
did your opponent load out with, and how good are you with those things.
Hmm.
We think that's going to be the really fun variable reward, and we also wanted to keep the focus on you as a player, like what avatars and objects did you have, and where did you go and find these objects, and
Yeah.
introducing new things, and that constant kind of new of being able to say, oh well, look, there's a new thing in base jump. Like every day we're trying to do new stuff, like bringing in like today there's uh, a big NFT community on our week called Dum Dums, these green elephants. If you have a Dum Dum in your wallet, now you've got a green Dum Dum avatar in base jump. And if you don't
Nice.
have a Dum Dum in your wallet, you can equip a dum dum green elephant helmet as a battle item, and that's available to everybody in BaseJump. And
Cool.
I think for me, like that's the idea of a hyper object is I can give someone with an existing asset, whether it's an NFT or a Web two asset, I can give that asset new utility in BaseJump, or we can give other people a free thing based on it. We think these like game objects used in this way, it's almost going to become like the native ad unit of gaming. Like
Yeah.
gaming makes more money than movies and music and TV combined, and the ad spend on gaming is about 5% of US ad budget, despite that being where all the attention eyeballs are, because nobody's figured this out. Like a billboard in a racing game is that's like not it. Like, and
Yeah.
those there's about 5 billion a year that goes to things like that. If you have interoperable assets that can flow between Fortnite and Roblox and GTA and wherever, and we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but that to me, like if I get a bat cow and I can take it to the restaurant, like we did when we were when I was at Palm, we were doing bat cows.
Mhm.
That to me, like it was those kind of things that we people started doing with NFTs, where it's like this is really powerful, like a social network aware, context aware object you can take IRL and different platforms.
Mhm.
That's a really amazing thing. I forgot what the question was.
It was just, it's just generally like, you basically, it was about the game. You got
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
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 Yeah, so the game, it'll be a battle game. You can equip different items. There's going to be all this fun with different items. Broadside OGs are going to get a lot of special perks. The game's not going to be unfair. I still want someone who doesn't know what Broadside is to be able to come in and wipe the floor with the biggest whale broadsider possible. Like, that's important. Balance is important.
Yeah. Balance very important.
We're launching the game natively in Discord because we think it's going to be really fun and really social.
Cool.
Discord's got over 200 million monthly users. We
Mhm.
haven't seen a Web3 game really scale there the way you've seen in things like Telegram.
Right.
We looked at Telegram and it was just like, well, it's tap to play, it's fine, but like we really want to make a game.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and so the reason that we're making a game first is because we think if we're going to build this action protocol, it's open source that lets anybody create games. No one's going to create games if the games they're creating are not fun. I've run a game studio for Sony Pictures. Vector, my co-founder, he's run a game studio for 10 years himself. If you look around, like everyone says the metaverse is dead, and yet GTA, Fortnite, and Roblox is the majority of gaming is in arguably closed metaverses. The difference between those metaverses and many of the open metaverses is those metaverses have really solid core game mechanics
Mhm.
that were polished by amazing teams of people for many years, and you just want to play them again. Like that's the thing. I think in the sort of metaverse gold rush of 2021, there was a lot of emphasis on build tools, build picks and shovels. People will come and create, and amazing stuff will just sort of rise up out of the sand. I know VCs often think this will happen, but games are more like movies. Like you got to have a good story, you got to have a good game loop. Otherwise, people tune out. It's not going to work. Like we have one of the most engaged metaverse communities. They've thrown a rave every week together for over 2 years. And I'm not going to lie to you, going into a rave and pressing the dance emoji, it's okay. It's fine. It's fun if you're right there and you're chatting and doing other things too. We are the
Yeah.
best in the world at that. It's not that fun. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, I'm not trying to like rag on my own
No,
community.
but people are still showing up for it. Yeah.
People are still showing up because of the community.
Exactly.
But if you give them a game mechanic, you give them other stuff, you put this in Discord, you put it in a naturally social environment built around gaming, we think they're going to show up more for that, and we think it's going to be a better experience for them.
Nice. That makes sense. So I guess I'm curious about like the action token itself and some aspects of that. So for example, if somebody wanted to launch their own gaming experience, on the platform, are there opportunities for them to launch their own token and maybe use their own token for like a play to earn experience, or is it like a requirement that action has to be used on the network?
We did not put this in the white paper because we have not built it yet, is
Okay.
all I can say about that. But
Okay.
that's a great idea. It's definitely something we're thinking about. So the first thing you'll be able to do is create a levels of this battle game yourself. So the way
Oh,
that
cool.
you'll see the battle game work in Discord is you'll choose your fighter, you'll choose your opponent, and every time you battle your opponent, the level will be completely procedurally generated, and it will be running
Cool.
on action substrate. And so the first thing you'll be able to do on action is play this game on action, play it with us. Let's get this game like good and make sure it's fun. And once it's fun, then we release the edit, then we release the tools to actually start making the games. At first, you'll be able to use that one game mode. It will be very much the battle mode, and we
Mhm.
hope people try and break it in as many ways as possible. And then sort of the things we're thinking about after that are adding new game modes. Like this is a fighting game. What does a racing game look like here? How do we build things for RPGs or FPS type games? Like what do we need to add? It will output to Unity. We're building on Unity first. We definitely want to add Unreal soon after. We definitely want to think about different game engines, different file types, adding in assets from any chain or assets that aren't on chain at all. We're doing all of that already with wallet readers and side loading. But there's just so much when you start getting into interoperability between engines, assets, files, chains. It's just like this. You have to build like one of those adapters you get at the airport that with all these different like things sticking out, so it will just work anywhere. That's going to be like the core of the action. One of the things at the core of the substrate is just put something in here from somewhere, and we'll make sure it works in all these other places. And you don't necessarily need to worry about that if you're not technically minded. And great, now you put your asset in, and now you can make a new game around it. And now the other thing about it is, I think these games are going to feel like you're playing in a meme, and I think a lot of these games that people will make will be the size of memes, and we're deliberately making a system where you can make games that it's okay for them to be that small and that disposable. Like we think gaming is going to get that small and that weird and much
Mhm.
bigger as a result.
Yeah, I mean, there's such a like I don't know, like you were saying, there's so much fragmentation in the market. I mean, between file types, blockchains, everything that like, there is such a need for a standard and a way to bring everything together in one and kind of defragment the space. So yeah, I think sounds like you guys are working to accomplish that. Yeah,
We're trying. I think like my two co-founders are really smart. And what I bring to the table is I'm lazy and I'm impatient, and I will tell people that things are too hard because I don't want to do them. And then it's like we got to make this easy. Like I just
yeah,
crypto has been too hard the entire time I've been in it, and games and different file types and the way you make games is easier than it's ever been. The tools out there now are better than they've ever been. But we're like, no, the next level is like make it as easy as Instagram made photography when it started,
yeah,
right? And then it morphed into this whole other thing, and we think you build this platform that just makes this thing that billions of people are doing right now really easy. Entire new forms of culture just sort of just spring up because now new things are possible.
just before you jumped on, Sean and I were just talking about this, like the complexity in crypto. Like we have some money that we got from a sponsor in like USD Tether on Polygon. Coinbase doesn't support USDT; they only support USDC, and it has to be on mainnet. And ultimately, I'm trying to get this money into a bank account so that we can pay for real expenses for the show. I have to go through 7 steps. I got to bridge assets. I got to swap them. I got to bring them to an exchange, then bring them to a bank account, and then go from another bank account to another bank. It's like I shouldn't have to take this many steps to get just to use my money.
It's one of the reasons we decided to build an AO is because we're like, well, AO will let us build all this amazing stuff. But if we're serving you a game in Discord and there's in-app purchases there, you can buy those with a credit card, and
Right.
we're not going to tell you it's an atomic asset, which is the sort
Mhm.
of vague equivalent of an NFT on AO. If you want to know, you can go on our website and you can back it out to your wallet and you can take it wherever and you can read the white paper and you can see that we are super legit crypto people. But if you don't care, we don't care because it doesn't matter. It should just be fun. It should just be easy. Blockchain. We still no one showed the world like why blockchain is magic, and I think that's what we're trying to do with this game is like make something crazy that couldn't have existed before, or at least couldn't be done in this way, and do not make anybody think about how it was made. Just make them feel like that was fun. I want to play that again.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So last question. I think this is the one that a lot of people want to know the answer to. When airdrop?
Um, yeah, I don't know. We're still
Yeah.
sort of thinking about that. It's not going to be soon, and I always say
Yeah.
soon. It's definitely not going to be soon. it's a really, I think it's a weird time to do airdrops. Like we've seen a couple of
Mhm.
ecosystems in the last few weeks, like Pudgies and Berachain. Like
Yeah.
especially in the case of Pudgies, it's like I think Pudgies and Lucanets and what they've done and what they did and what they do is as close as you can get in this space to just perfection. Like they're just great. They land everything. It's clinical,
Hmm.
and everyone's flooring their token, and it's like it's
Yeah.
just this is not doing the thing it was designed to do. At least to my mind, looking at it from the outside, I'm like, this ain't great, and I feel bad for that team. Like I'm sure they'll be fine, and everything's gonna continue because they're smart and they always seem to right the ship. But like there's this adversarial relationship between people who buy tokens and the companies releasing tokens in order to augment the ecosystems and the platforms that they're building. And we're still all, I think, figuring that out and having a conversation about that together. And I think it's going to get slightly easier in the US, especially like, the sort of the temperature and the atmosphere changing around crypto. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
well, we can all be a little bit more experimental now. Maybe we'll see. But like how you use a token to build, I want to reward people for engagement, using action, playing on base jump, making things. Okay, here are your action token rewards. Like, and I think one thing, like, I can't speak for every founder, but legally you have to say in a white paper or T's and C's on your website when you're doing an NFT collection, like, this is a worthless utility token. Don't expect profits. It's not security. And you have to say that, right? So people do it. I personally, I believe that. And I don't believe that it's necessarily worthless. Like, it's not, it might go up in value, but like, I don't know. Like, I'm just a person trying to build a game with a really smart team of people. And most people doing this fail, and most startups fail. And I don't want anyone to buy an action token without like really understanding that. Like for me, the most important thing is um, we put the white paper out. You can actually start. The only way you can get the token is earning yield on AO through this thing they've got called the PermaWeb Index, which is this really, really brilliant way to kind of distribute tokens to wider communities. So we made a decision to like launch the token early that way. But when it comes to listings, TGEs, all of these things, if we do that now, we're just going to see a big red shark fin, and we're never going to launch the game because we're going to be paying different exchanges the rest of our tokens to try and get the thing up, to try and get it up, and it won't work because that's never worked. The only way you're going to sustain that ecosystem, and the thing we lay out in our white paper is this token is for this ecosystem. So the thing we need to focus on first is product market fit. Is this game really fun? Okay, cool. Once we tick that box, all right, now release the tool set so people can make other fun games. Then make sure you're supporting that ecosystem, and then eventually, grow that to what we think is like an internet scale economy. So yeah, there's a lot of potential for this token. It's a $0 trillion idea, right? Like it's a
Yeah.
lot of potential, but we just started. Um, I want to be completely upfront with people about that. If you're buying my token, out like with expectation of profits, like no, like the stuff we said in our white paper, I really believe that if we achieve product market fit and people are really using that token, then that token's going to have real utility in an ecosystem. Our plan is to grow that ecosystem from sort of game size to UGC like content creation size to internet scale, and that's why we're building on AO because it can scale infinitely in that way. So like the plan makes sense, I think, but like the airdrop's only going to happen when it's good for us and it's good for the community.
Yeah.
And like, listen, if I had a dollar for every when I'm going to get between now and the time we do that,
Yeah.
we wouldn't need a token.
And I think something a lot of people don't even like think about. There's I mean, especially in the U.S., like and a lot of other countries too. There's a huge, tax liability associated with receiving one of these airdrops with the current tax system. I've
Yeah,
heard stories about people who received like a $200,000 Pudgy airdrop or $1 million Pudgy airdrop, and if you didn't sell your tokens right away, the price dropped like crazy, but you still owe the tax money on the price that you received it at. So it's
yeah,
like it's a huge, huge liability to to be giving out out a token to your users if your platform isn't fully ready for them to actually use it and have the utility and all those things. So I think you're definitely going about it the right way, and in terms of making it the best for both you and for your users. So yeah.
Yeah, I used to be the CMO at Kraken, and I was on the token listing committee there. Like this is going back many dog years in crypto now, like 2019, 2020. When I was on the token listing committee, we would spend 18 months vetting a token on average before deciding to list it on the platform. And the timelines are getting shorter. Like we're seeing even the big exchanges like Kraken and
Like
Coinbase.
literally a day. Like it's crazy.
It's got shorter. I mean Kraken. A lot of them. It actually when you do it well, it looks like it was fast, but it's still not that fast unless it's like a sort of there's some inside connection between the team members and people trust each other and those type of things that can speed things up. But this is real stuff. Like
Yeah.
we're out here like growing magic internet money, and the space is rife with danger and scams, and
Mhm.
it's really hard to tell the good actors from the bad actors. And I think doing these things thoughtfully and carefully is the only way to do them. You can be too thoughtful and too careful, and I've definitely seen that too, without talking about other networks and things. But like at some point, you got to go and just
Yeah.
hope you don't go to jail. But like not before you've really like made sure no one's going to lose their shirt. And like yeah, the
Yeah.
the tax liability stuff, everything that comes with this in this space, and everything that's still so undefined, which is most
Mhm.
most of it, right? Yeah, it's all new stuff, and especially if we're doing something like gaming, we want to be really buttoned up on that. If we're putting anyone in a situation where we're creating tax liability or any kind of compliance issues for them,
Yeah.
that's something we're going to take very very seriously. And again, like that means taking our time.
Well, Matt, this has been an awesome interview, and I really appreciate you taking the time to go through some of this, still
Yeah,
very new and very complicated stuff with us. So I feel like I personally learned a lot today, and I hope all of our viewers did as well. And yeah, hope to have you back on soon. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more updates coming down the line over the next few months. So really excited to see what comes next.
always love being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt. And if you're not following Matt, I'm sure you are. Make sure to follow him by following the link down the details and also Broadside as well on both Twitter and Instagram. Thanks so much, Matt,
Yeah.
for joining. We'll see you on the next one. It was awesome seeing you, bud.
Thank you.